so that you can see. This camp is so massive. The only way we can show you how in the air. So, so far this band, so let's take some questions from one of the organizers. Who's at this camp? So, and
this is it.
I think you might be good to fly again if you want. All right, so we got disconnected for a second, but I believe we are back up here with everyone. Okay. Guys, with an organizer here about what's currently happening at the camp, so I have a few questions, but overall, can you just ask him what is going on?
Sure. Edmilson, o que está acontecendo? Onde a gente está?
Estamos no Jardim Elian, onde ocupamos um terreno que há mais de 40 anos é utilizado pelo governo para úteis fins sociais, né? Aonde eles estavam pagando imposto de zona rural, sendo que aqui era IPTU, e aonde hoje temos a nossa Copa do Povo, né? A 3 quilômetros de distância da Copa, que é
Quantas pessoas estão morando aqui?
Morando na base, nós estamos acampadas 4.500 pessoas, famílias, né? 4.500 famílias, mas aumentando ainda os pessoal.
Can you translate for us?
He said that there are more than 4,000 families here, and the camp is called People's Cup. And what else? We're here very near to the stadium, Itaquerão Stadium, that was built especially for the World Cup. And você sabe me dizer se vocês estão precisando de alguma coisa aqui agora?
Estamos. Material de higiene. O maior recurso nós estamos pedindo para o nosso falado. Nós não temos banheiros feitos, só um banheiro para muitas pessoas, umas delas ficam em casas de vizinhos. A maior necessidade nossa é mais em materiais de higiene.
He said that one thing that they are really needing now is something like toilets. They asked the council, but nothing happened till now.
So can I ask, what do they hope to accomplish with the camp?
Okay. Sorry, beg your pardon?
What do they hope to accomplish?
Tá.
Yeah.
O que vocês querem alcançar com esse acampamento? O que vocês estão buscando exatamente?
Reedificar nossas moradias, né? Falaram que todo brasileiro tem direito à moradia, então nós estamos retificando esses direitos, né? Onde nós dá para ver, em vez de nós ter nossas moradias, gastaram dinheiro público no estádio. Falaram que não ia gastar e gastaram mais de um bilhão, né? 1,2 bilhões no estádio, e os pessoal morando nem tem onde morar, né? Que o aluguel aumentou muito, então famílias se deslocando até aqui porque não estão conseguindo pagar seus aluguéis.
And he said that basically living in Sao Paulo is very expensive. Renting a house is very expensive, and public money has been spent building stadiums and stuff like that. and people here, they just want a place to live.
So I've heard that the police have said you have until May 23rd until they evict everyone. Can you ask him, are they worried about the police or the government coming in with force?
Vocês estão com intervenção policial aqui no acampamento ou não?
Ainda não, que nós recebemos, né, a notificação de despejo, mas ainda nós ainda que deram mais de 20 dias nós fazendo isso, quanto o MTST verificando essas partes de acordo com eles. Teve um diálogo já com os proprietários, ficou mais daqui 10 dias, tá nessa reunião para estar decidindo.
A polícia chegou a aparecer?
Não, polícia não. Polícia não pode nenhuma usar agressão.
He said that up to now they weren't notified, they weren't asked to evacuate the area, but they don't are actually afraid of the police. Mas já o que você me falou no final, vocês têm medo da polícia aqui ou não?
Não, porque nós recebemos a hora de despejo e essa hora de despejo foi só que era para 48 dias, só que não ainda um diálogo.
We're talking to the owner of the lot, and they have 10 days left to stay here in the area.
Are there any questions that you have for him about space? It's massive. I mean, let me ask: has there been an issue with crime at all? Have people worked together fairly well?
If they
Typically respectful and have things worked well?
Como que está acontecendo? Rola algum tipo de assalto e tal?
Não.
Vocês serem roubados entre vocês, alguma coisa do tipo? Ou não? É tudo na paz, todo mundo se respeita?
Sim, todo mundo na paz. Nós temos até então, para inibir essas coisas, nós temos autodefesa do acampamento, que à noite, com os próprios moradores que estão aqui, nós juntamos um grupo todos os dias às 10 horas, aonde são tirados, dependendo da quantidade, são divididos em grupos e a gente trilhamos o acampamento para inibir fogueira, para não ter incêndio, inibindo com usuários de droga, sempre com diálogo, falando, sempre orientando, falando que não pode, essas coisas, e muitos deles são compreensivos, isso, de usuário, uma bebida ali, para estar inibindo isso.
And he said that they are trying to keep things very peaceful here. And there is a group, they kind of take to make sure that anybody's using drugs or drinking, stuff like that.
So can you ask, what does he think will happen in the next coming weeks?
Para nós. Olha para nós. E eu acho que o mundo inteiro está olhando, o governo ele implanta e aqui planta. Eu acho que morador, trabalhador sem teto, só dificuldade.
And he said that workers shouldn't be homeless, and they are expecting to, I don't know, how can I say, they want to win, I don't know, and keep what they propose.
So then, I guess the last thing I have for the organizer, is there anything else he wants to add before we take a quick look around?
Antes da gente dar uma volta aqui, tem alguma coisa que você quer falar? That's it for now.
All right. So thank you, Deborah Lopez, and many thanks to our organizer. Appreciate the time you guys taken. I'm going to try to take a quick look around here. So bear in mind, for those that are watching, the connection here is decent. It's a bit up and down, but I want to try and show you as best I can on the ground what things look like, and try and reiterate a bit what we just learned from the organizer and from our host, Deborah Lopez. So from where I am standing atop this stair set, this camp is the largest occupation protest I first arrived in the camp, standing in the main square. Let me show you this main square area. So everyone over here, they're working on protest signs and flags. When you walk in, you can't actually see the you can't actually see how big the camp is because it's too big. And straight ahead behind these trees on this hill, it just climbs this entire hill, and it goes down straight until another hill, and I can't see over it. So it's seriously huge. And one of the most important things to know is this isn't the only protest camp in Brazil. There's actually, I believe, 5, one of which has around 8,000 families. So, you know, what we're hearing, they're calling this the People's Cup. They're upset that so much money is being poured into this sporting event and not actually going to the people who need it. Rent is really high here in Brazil compared to the minimum wage. People could be spending 75 to 80% of their monthly income just to rent a place to live. And this is, you know, one of the contributing factors to the favelas. So what's interesting, what we've learned so far, shooting down here, meeting all of these people and going to these favelas, is that they're sort of on their own. They feel like they're not, you know, I should say, it seems like most parties, including the police, the military, and the individuals, don't feel like they are a part of the government, a part of the state. And these favelas are actually run by gangs. The pacification program is where they're going in and weeding out the gangs and taking out the crime. And what we're told by a major with the military is that they're trying to make the people closer to the state. They're trying to gentrify these neighborhoods and make them, you know, more officially part of the country. But, you know, again, I look from here and then I'm just speechless at how massive this is. Because, you know, for those that are watching who know the work that I've done with covering a lot of these protests and seeing all these occupations, from Occupy Wall Street to Occupy Gezi, and even in Kiev, I've never seen anything so large. And, you know, what's interesting is that as you know, when you look at it from the surface, it seems a bit disorganized, but there's paths. You know, the tents are numbered. It's seriously one of the most interesting things. You know, they've really put a lot of work into this. And, you know, if you ask me personally, I think it comes from the work that's been done with the favelas. You know, oftentimes the people who go there will just decide to start building. At somewhere and some point in the favela, they'll start putting it together. And there are people with construction experience, so they build them on top of each other. They have a bit of a experience with setting up, you know, basically low-cost living situations. But this is a protest camp, and these people, they feel like the workers are being left homeless. Meanwhile, you've got the World Cup, the largest sporting event in the world, happening in their backyard. And I guess the general sentiment that we've seen from the people down here is that the world's biggest party is coming to their back door and they're not invited. From the people being told they can't sell, you know, concessions or have their stores run near the stadiums, to the people who can't even afford to attend. But now that we've got through that part, I want to try and walk through, but again, we might not be able to get a strong signal once we go down into the camp, but I definitely want to give it a shot. So for those that are watching, I want to thank you all for tuning in. You can make sure to follow @Vice News on Twitter for more updates, and Instagram for photos, videos, text updates, breaking news around the world. You can find me on Twitter @TimCast and on Instagram @TimCast as well. And now I'm going to do my best to go in and get an in-depth look at the inside. You know, I'm definitely not going to go into people's tents or anything, but this would be pretty cool if I can show you what it's like to be down here on the ground. But if it cuts out, you know, I apologize, but we're going to do it. So you can see that these are numbered, and I'm going to try to. I don't want to look into any of these tents. These are people's homes, but we were told by the organizers up here that they welcome the press and they want everyone to see, you know, what's going on here. So. They also mentioned just a second before they're hoping for toilets. I can see it's going up and down a little bit, but this is really amazing, and I think there are a lot of people here who, you know, are sort of being left in the dust, and you know, are just sort of reclaiming space. So we've heard that they want the World Cup to you know, buy the space, and to, let's go back the other way, you know, basically it's about respect in some regards. You know, it's I guess it's hard for me to put it, but this isn't the only camp. There are a lot of people who are occupying spaces around the city because so much is being poured into a sporting event in public funds. You know, this stadium that we are not too far away from, the Arena Corinthians, is a $450 million stadium. And in Rio, similar problem. So, you know, it's hard to imagine what it would be like to live in a country where you need resources, the people need resources, and government funding is available for it. Tax money is being paid into it, but, you know, they go and fund this big sporting event instead. And it's, you know, it's easy to see where a lot of the anger comes from. So, in about 1 month, the World Cup kicks off here in Brazil. And a lot of people are trying to figure out what exactly is going to happen. No one really knows for sure. But I guess a few things to be said are that there's a lot of angry people. There are likely to be protests. There's likely to be a lot of fun. There's likely to be a lot of soccer, games, playing, everything you'd expect from a sporting event. But when I talk to the locals and I ask them, will there be so much ire that protests and riots occur? And I said a few things. A lot of people love the Brazilian soccer team. When the World Cup happens, you see Brazilian flags everywhere. But this time, there's no Brazilian flags anywhere. That's sort of surprising a lot of the people we've spoken to, because aside from the fact that they're not putting up flags, no one else is either. So I asked them, is it then, you know, will the people support the Brazilian soccer team? You know, will it end in chaos? Will there be, you know, protests and riots in the streets? Are people really going to get angry? And I guess the most important thought is that everyone seems to joke that, look, if the Brazilian soccer team loses, after all the money that was spent, all the resources put into this, if they lose, people are going to riot. But if the Brazilian soccer team wins, people are still going to riot. So, you know, it's hard to say exactly what will happen, but that seems to be the joke. And as difficult as it seems for a lot of the people who live here, a lot of them just seem to be living their lives and living like people. You know, I went down to the favelas. We met a lot of really great people, really nice people who, you know, showed us great hospitality and took us in. And I guess, you know, one of the most important things I've learned from my travels, especially here in the favelas, you know, our cab driver didn't want to go into the favela. They were scared. And we've had a few other people who've told us, just don't do it, it's dangerous. But when you go in and you meet these people, you realize that they're just trying to get by like everybody else. And just doing people stuff. So we got shown puppies that people were caring for. And we've been shown around and you show people's homes and puppies, happy ones. So everyone just seems to be trying to get by. And this is just another, I guess, issue with, you know, what happens when there's one group who believes one thing is right and another group that believes another thing is right. So with that, I sincerely hope that you all enjoyed our interview, our aerial coverage, and the brief little walkthrough of the park, of the camp, I'm sorry. So I sincerely appreciate everybody who tuned in to check out this Google Hangout with us. And again, lastly, you can find more breaking news from around the world at Vice News on Twitter and Instagram. And you can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Timcasts. Make sure to check out vicenews.com in the coming days, weeks, if you're looking for coverage on the World Cup. You know, so we're down here, we'll be covering it. And check out all the news we got. So thanks again, and take care, everybody.